On today's episode of Pop History Podcast, the Angel of Death is alive and well in Las Vegas. Before he goes sailing, the singer goes trippin'. And a story originally titled The Banshee Screams for Buffalo Meat hits the theaters. Let's kick it!
You're listening to Pop History Podcast, a show which opens a chronological time capsule of our past. If you're a child of the 80s, a pop culture historian, or just a fan of nostalgia, keep tuning in for your weekly lesson of pop history. Now here's your host, Jay Jackson.
Welcome, listeners, to another episode where we look at everything that was rad, sad, and meh in April 1980, all while we count down the top 10 Billboard hits of the week of April 12th. Let's get to the countdown. At number 10 this week is the third single from Michael Jackson's fifth solo album. Making its debut on the countdown, here's the title track, Off the Wall.
When the world is on your shoulder, gotta straighten up your act and boogie down. If you can't hang with the feeling, then there ain't no room for you in this part of town. 'Cause we're the party people night and day, living crazy, that's the only way. So tonight, gotta leave the 9 to 5 up on the shelf and just enjoy yourself. Groove, let the madness and the music get to you, like it's so bad at all. You live it off the wall. Live life off the wall. Live life off the wall. Live it off the wall. You can shout out all you want to, 'cause there ain't no sin and folks are getting loud. If you take the chance and do it, then there ain't no one who's gonna put you down. 'Cause we're the party people night and day, living crazy, that's the only way. So tonight, gotta leave the 9 to 5 up on the shelf and just enjoy yourself. Groove, let the madness and the music get to you, like it's so bad at all. Live it off the wall. Live life off the wall. Live your life off the wall. Live it off the wall. Do what you want to do. There ain't no rules, there's nothing, no rules. It's time to get alive and party alright through the night. Alright, your inhibition.
Damn, that's a jam. That was Off the Wall by Michael Jackson. After the first two singles from his album, Don't Stop Till You Get Enough and Rock With You, hit number 1, this song didn't fare quite as well, peaking at number 10 this month in 1980. Let's take a look at the big news stories this month. The Ayatollah Khomeini rejects any compromise over the 50 hostages held at the U.S. Embassy as diabolic trickery and said only Iran's new parliament can decide the issue. In response, President Carter breaks diplomatic relations with the government of Iran. A military operation to free the American hostages in Iran fails and results in the accidental death of 8 crewmen aboard 2 U.S. aircraft. Apparently, the 2 planes collided in the desert as the mission was being boarded, causing the deaths. President Carter accepts full responsibility for the decision to attempt the rescue. Iranian militants say if the U.S. takes any other military action against Iran, all the U.S. hostages will be killed. 2 International Red Cross officials are allowed to visit the American hostages. They report that the 2 older men appear to be under stress, but they otherwise appear to be okay. And in related news, President Carter says he's prepared to take legal action if necessary to prevent the American athletes from participating in the Moscow Olympics this summer. An Amtrak Silver Star train collides head-on with a freight train near Lakeview, North Carolina. 70 aboard are injured. President Carter and Ronald Reagan both win their respective parties in the Louisiana primary election, but Democratic presidential hopeful Ted Kennedy is challenging the current president, winning Pennsylvania, Vermont, and Michigan in April, while Carter also won Wisconsin and Kansas this month. In Las Vegas, nurse Janie Adams is arrested on charges of killing a patient by tampering with life support equipment. Reports claim that Adams called herself the Angel of Death and had killed at least 2 patients in the intensive care ward by shutting off their support systems. Even more shocking, The Las Vegas Review-Journal reported that she acted as an odds maker for a booking establishment by taking bets from other staff members as to what time certain patients would die. In a turn of events, just as quickly as the story had surfaced, District Judge Wendell quashed the indictment for lack of evidence, and the district attorney's office chose not to appeal. By June of this year, Adams returned to work. The nation's largest bus and subway system comes to a dead stop in its first strike in 14 years, forcing millions of New York City commuters to scramble to work the best way they could. The unthinkable has happened, and now we have to figure out how to live with the unthinkable, and we will, said Mayor Edward Koch. Life will go on, and we will do whatever has to be done. During the strike, vandals sabotaged more than 20 private buses, while rain helped stall customers in the worst traffic jams yet. The strike lasted for 10 days, with job absenteeism estimated to be 15 and 20%. The Navy relaxes its ban on beer aboard a ship as an act of mercy for about 5,000 sailors who haven't touched land for more than 100 days. The one-time dispensation was granted for the crew of the aircraft carrier Nimitz, now patrolling the Arabian Sea. Consumer advocate Ralph Nader charges that White House influence is one reason why the government has not ordered a massive recall of Ford Motor Company's vehicles that can slip in reverse after transmissions are left in park. After a sensational 11-week trial, Howard Buddy Jacobson, once the leading horse trainer in the nation, is found guilty of murdering the lover of his former girlfriend, 24-year-old cover girl Melanie Kane. The jury found that Jacobson had murdered John Tupper, with whom Kane had been living. Buddy was sentenced to 25 years and died while in prison of bone cancer in 1989. This month, the U.S. Army reveals that in 1966 it conducted a bizarre test in New York City's subway system. It released what they called relatively harmless bacteria mixed with charcoal particles in an attempt to see how microbes spread throughout the subway system. Confirming the obvious, the bacteria and charcoal spread rapidly as the trains arrived and left the station. More than 1 million commuters were exposed to them. The Army said no one was made ill, but also admitted that it did not monitor any citizens for side effects. On a campaign stop in New Holland, Pennsylvania, Republican presidential hopeful Ronald Reagan takes over as the auctioneer and sells a donkey. He then jokes the crowd, "All these months, that's what I've been trying to do is get rid of the jackass." After some scrutiny, he amplified his statement saying that a jackass is a symbol of the other party and said, "I didn't mean anything personal by that because I got nothing against jackasses." Lafayette Electronics, at one time one of the country's largest consumer electronic chains, is liquidating 60 of its remaining 68 stores. At one point, the 60-year-old company maintained 125 retail outlets in 15 states.
Who shot J.R. on Dallas? I'll just bet Cliff Barnes did the dirty deed.
When the smoke's clear, dear, you'll find that it was Vaughn Leland.
Well, people list the 10 most likely suspects, and Vaughn sounds very unlikely to me, Sherlock.
People asked 11 Texas celebrities who done it, and one of them agreed with me.
There's even this Who Shot J.R. poll. People's asking everybody to vote.
Everybody who follows Dallas should treat themselves
Treat their family.
to this week's people. Why do you buy two peoples?
So you can vote for Vaughn while I send people the right answer.
At number 9, before recording their 6th studio album, The Long Run, the Eagles were forced to replace bassist and founding member Randy Meisner. They discovered former session musician Timothy Schmidt, and he had the lead vocal on one song, this one, the second single from the album. Here are the Eagles with Timothy Schmidt and I Can't Tell You Why.
Every time I try to walk away, something makes me turn around and stay, and I can't tell you why. No, baby, I can't tell you why. I can't tell you why. I can't tell you why.
I Can't Tell You Why was the first song recorded by the Eagles for the Long Run album, but it was the last single. After Heartache Tonight and the title track, The Long Run, I Can't Tell You Why ended up being the last song by the band which ever saw the Billboard Top 10, peaking at number 8 this week in 1980. In television news, on ABC's Good Morning America, Watergate figure G. Gordon Liddy appears with syndicated newspaper columnist Jack Anderson. Liddy told the columnist he would willingly have killed him had the White House given him the go-ahead, and he would have considered it justifiable homicide. Liddy said that in 1972 he proposed that Anderson be murdered for allegedly exposing the identity of a U.S. intelligence agent working abroad. Entertainment informational programs are on the rise as Real People and That's Incredible are doing well in the ratings. The February numbers are in, and television viewing in the average household hits a record 7 hours and 22 minutes per day. According to the Television Bureau of Advertising, among the factors that may have contributed to February's high viewing levels were the Winter Olympics, the ongoing crisis in Iran and Afghanistan, and spiraling inflation as well as gas. On CBS, country star Kenny Rogers is the Gambler in the made-for-television western directed by Dick Lowry. The film is loosely based on the 1978 Grammy-winning Kenny Rogers song of the same name and stars the singer as Brady Hawks, a gambler trying to unite with his son he never knew. The film was a critical and commercial success, receiving 2 Emmy nominations and 4 sequels. CBS beats ABC in the ratings with 8 of the 10 highest rating programs in the Nielsen Top 10. At number 8 this week is a song which hit number 1 in our last episode. Here's Queen with their Elvis-inspired tune, Crazy Little Thing Called Love. That was Queen with Crazy Little Thing Called Love, a song which spent 4 weeks at number 1 in the Billboard charts and also hit number 1 in Australia, Canada, Mexico, and the Netherlands. The song was written by singer Freddie Mercury as a tribute to Elvis Presley, and Roger Taylor said in an interview that Mercury wrote the song in just 10 minutes while lounging in the bath, and the entire song was recorded in less than a half hour. The song is only the band's second to crack the top 10 and first number 1, but it won't be their last. In movie news this month, actor-director Robert Redford was cited for operating a motorized vehicle on government property without consent. Redford and friends were doing what is called helicopter skiing, in which a helicopter dropped them off the top of a mountain and they skied down 4,000 feet. Redford later spoke about the incident, saying, "Oh, Jesus, I could take this a lot easier if the Forest Preserve just stopped taking a double standard on what it regulates. They're making an issue of this. And on the other side of the mountain, you have this massive development. It's a total boondoggle." Johnny Carson hosts the 52nd Annual Academy Awards. Among the nominees for Best Supporting Actor were 8-year-old Justin Henry, the youngest nominee in this category ever, and 79-year-old Melvin Douglas. The age difference was the largest between 2 competing actors in Oscar history. Henry was nominated for his performance in Kramer vs. Kramer, a film which finished the evening winning 5 awards, including Best Picture, Best Director for Robert Benton, Best Supporting Actress for Meryl Streep, and Best Actor for Dustin Hoffman. Other big winners of the night include Sally Field for Best Actress for Norma Rae, and Melvin Douglas won the Best Supporting Actor. Memorable music performances that night include Kermit the Frog taking the stage, performing the Oscar-nominated song, The Rainbow Connection.
Why are there so many songs about rainbows? And what's on the other side? Rainbows are visions, but only illusions. And rainbows have nothing to hide. So we've been told, and some the dreamers and me.
You know, I've been watching him play that song on banjo. I just can't figure it out. At number 7 this week, we have a special duet. In one corner, we have Billy Preston, perhaps best known as a session keyboardist, who has played with the Beatles, Little Richard, and Ray Charles, before becoming a successful solo artist in the 1970s with the hits Out of Space and Will It Go Round in Circles. In the other corner, we have Syreeta Wright, a songwriter and former wife of singer Stevie Wonder. Syreeta released her debut album in 1972. Together, Preston and Syreeta combined their talents with a song that originally appeared on the soundtrack to the 1979 motion picture Fast Break. Here's Billy Preston and Syreeta with You, I'm Born Again.
Come bring me your softness, comfort me through all this madness. Norman, don't you know with you I'm born again.
Now there's you, there is no fear. Lying safe within your arms, I'm born.
Don't you know with you I'm born again. I was
Not home, instead with love. Reaching.
That was Billy Preston and Syreeta with You, I'm Born Again. Their first duet, debuting at number 7 on the Billboard Top 10 in April 1980. Let's take a look at music news. After forming Asylum Records and announcing his retirement after incorrectly being diagnosed with cancer in 1977, David Geffen is back and is forming his own label. Geffen said at the time, "There are a lot of performers out there looking for a record executive with talent and vision." Some of his early recruits were Donna Summer and John Lennon. A Los Angeles federal grand jury charges that LaVille Degree of the soul vocal group The Whispers of conspiring to steal a U.S. postal truck with $1.8 million worth of valuables inside. Degree and his brother David were arrested in March and charged with possession of $300,000. The U.S. Attorney General claimed that another $1.5 million was still missing. Somehow, Degree managed to escape serious jail time by only serving 4 months, where his brother David was sentenced to 4 years. The Whispers were best known for their 1979 self-titled album, which spawned the hit single, And the Beat Goes On. Tommy Caldwell, a member of the Marshall Tucker Band, is reported in critical condition as a result of injuries sustained in an automobile crash in South Carolina. Brian Johnson is named the new lead singer of AC/DC, replacing the late Bon Scott. A member of the New Jersey State Assembly introduces a resolution to make Bruce Springsteen's Born to Run the official state song. The resolution was quickly rejected when lyrics to the song may paint Jersey in a poor light, including, "Baby, this town rips the bones from your pack. It's a death trap. It's a suicide rap. We gotta get out while we're young." In an exclusive interview with Rolling Stone, former Beatle Paul McCartney goes on about many subjects, including his current relationship with former bandmate John Lennon. "We keep in touch. I phoned him at Christmas. We talked mainly about our lives, our families. People are calling John a recluse because he isn't doing what they expect him to do. I happened to ask him about his music, and he said, no, at the moment he doesn't particularly feel like doing that anymore. Maybe someday, but it doesn't bug him. He's quite happy. Before the Beatles, we would have said that if we were going to make a big success, it would be to free us and to allow us to make our way in life without having to be at someone else's command. I would say that that's what he's done. But I don't like speaking up for him, so I'm vaguely trying to shut up about it. He doesn't talk about me either. There's no venom here. He's got a good home life from what I can see." New in record stores this month, we have Iron Maiden's self-titled debut album, Empty Glass, the first solo album from The Who's Pete Townsend, 17 Seconds from The Cure. Black Sabbath are back with their first album with Ronnie James Dio, Heaven and Hell. The album Dolly, Dolly, Dolly by who else? Dolly Parton. Flush the Fashion by Alice Cooper. Go to Heaven by the Grateful Dead. Just One Night by Eric Clapton. The influential punk album Los Angeles, the debut from X. And from British Steel, the sixth album by the British heavy metal band Judas Priest. Here's Breaking the Law.
Stella was completely wasting, out of working down. All inside it's so frustrating, bringing down the town. Still so nobody cares if I let one die. So I might as well begin to put some action in my life. Breaking the law, breaking the law, breaking the law, breaking the law. Breaking the law, breaking the law, breaking the law, breaking the law. So much for the golden future, I can't even start. I've had every promise broken, anger in my heart. You don't know what it's like, you don't have a clue. If you did, you'd find yourself doing the same thing too. Breaking the law, 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 breaking the law. You don't know what it's like.
British Steel kicked off heavy metal's glory days in the 1980s and also featured another classic Priest song, Living After Midnight. The album peaked at number 34 on the U.S. Billboard charts and made it to the number 4 in the U.K. The next act, at number 6, spent nearly 15 years known as The Moments, an R&B vocal group out of Washington, D.C. They hit the top 10 in 1970 with Love on a Two-Way Street. By 1979, they had a total of 27 R&B chart hits and decided to leave their current record label, Stang, to sign with the larger Polydor Records. A legal dispute arose which barred them from using the name The Moments on their new label. So they renamed the group with their last names, Ray, Goodman, and Brown. The name change didn't hurt their success one bit. In fact, it might have helped. Their first single off their new self-titled debut shot the charts. Here's Ray, Goodman, and Brown with Special Lady. Individually, they are Evan Brown, Al Goodman, and Harry Ray. Put them together, and you have Ray, Goodman, and Brown. And that was their debut single under their new moniker. At number 6, Special Lady. Now it's time for our TV theme trivia. Can you name this classic theme song?
He sure was.
Mrs. Davis, you did the dishes. And the shopping.
Picked up a few bargains, too.
You're the best babysitter.
My goodness. Look at the difference. The glasses you washed yesterday look so clear. These I just did came out spotty. My Cascade did this. You were out of Cascade, so I bought this bargain brand. And now you got spots.
See what a difference Cascade can make.
Try Cascade. Most bargain brands can leave drops that spot, but Cascade's sheeting action leaves glasses virtually spotless.
Hi, I'm here, and I brought a bargain.
Another bargain?
A real one this time.
For virtually spotless dishes, you can see why Cascade's the better buy.
Sorry to take you out of the past and into the present, but we have to get a few words in here. You know your support is essential in keeping Pop History Podcast going with the highest possible quality, and we would truly appreciate it if you can take a few seconds of your day today to help us out. If you are broke, like me, you can help us out by leaving an iTunes review, which increases our accessibility. You can interact with us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Your clicks and likes help our visibility on all of our posts. Or just drop us an email at pophistorypodcast@yahoo.com with your favorite 80s memories, a pod distance dedication, or just a few kind words. If you do have a few bucks you'd like to donate to help keep this going, find us on Patreon by doing a search for Pop History Podcast. If we can reach our goal, we'll be providing exclusive content for our Patreon supporters. All these songs can be found in their entirety on Spotify. Do a search for Pop History Podcast playlist, and you'll find playlists for each month of our show. We thank you for listening to Pop History Podcast and look forward to your feedback. Now, back to the show. Did you guess this week's TV theme song? If you were a fan of the rock band Ben Folds 5, you might have heard that song before. The band had used this music to close many of their concerts. That was the theme to The Rockford Files, which told the tales of Jim Rockford as portrayed by James Garner, a barely getting by private eye. The show was created by Roy Huggins, who also created The Western Maverick, also starring James Garner. The Rockford Files ran for 122 episodes from 1974 to 1980, and continued the story in 8 made-for-TV movies on NBC. The show may be fondly remembered for its opening sequence, whereas each episode began with Rockford's dictaphone remote Ansophone 660, and a message towards Rockford, usually not related to the episode and occasionally humorous. Numerous celebrities and well-known contemporary public figures were used in the recordings. In the show's run, it won 5 Emmy Awards, including Garner for Best Actor in 1976. At number 5 this month is the second single from their 1979 platinum album, Ladies' Night. It's Kool and the Gang with Too Hot.
At 17 we fell in love, high school sweethearts. Love was so brand new. We took the vows of man and wife, forever for life. I remember how we made our way, a little patient, the times we prayed. Can't imagine that this love is through, feeling the pain, girl, when you lose. Oh, it's too hot, lady. Gotta run for shelter, gotta run for shade. It's too hot, lady. Gotta cool this anger. What a mess we made so long ago. You were my love, oh my love.
At number 5, that was Kool and the Gang with Too Hot. Some of you might be familiar with Lisa Stansfield's cover of this song, which was recorded for the album The Hits Reloaded. Other listeners may recognize parts of the song from the Coolio tune of the same name, which sampled this track on his 1995 album, Gangsta's Paradise. Now let's take a look at the comings and goings this month. People who came into this world in April 1980 include actor Channing Tatum of the Magic Mike, G.I. Joe, and Jump Street films. 2 of each so far. Jordana Brewster, who began her career as a child actor in the daytime soap opera As the World Turns, and later became a star in the Fast and the Furious franchise. And actress, model, socialite, and singer Bijou Phillips was born in this month. Bijou is the daughter of John Phillips, musician and leader of the vocal group The Mamas and the Papas. As to the ones we lost this month, at 74 years old, French writer and philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre passed away. Sartre's primary idea is that people are condemned to be free, and the concepts of authenticity and individuality have to be earned rather than learned, and we need to wake ourselves up to what is really important, which is life experience over knowledge. Actor Raymond Bailey passed away this month at the age of 75. Bailey is perhaps known as the wealthy banker Mr. Drysdale on the CBS sitcom The Beverly Hillbillies. Actress-singer Jane Froman, whose comeback from plane crash injuries was portrayed in the 1952 Academy Award-nominated movie With a Song in My Heart, died this month at the age of 72. And also this month, one of the most influential film directors of the 20th century, Alfred Hitchcock, passed away at the age of 80. Hitchcock pioneered many elements of suspense and psychological thriller genres and became a highly visible public figure through unforgettable interviews, cameo appearances in his own films, and 10 years in which he hosted the television program Alfred Hitchcock Presents. He developed a distinctive and recognizable directorial style, which has now been referred to as Hitchcockian by modern-day filmmakers, fans, and critics. His films Rear Window, Vertigo, The Birds, North by Northwest, and Psycho are regularly ranked among the greatest films of all time. Here's a clip from Alfred Hitchcock Presents, in which our host describes an additional use of a handgun.
Good evening. I hope you'll excuse me if I appear a trifle excited, but I've just come into possession of a cure for insomnia. It comes in capsule form. For best results, they must be taken internally. Here is the handy applicator. It is an amazingly simple device. An idiot can operate it, and indeed many do.
That was a line of bullets and a handgun he pulls out of his desk there. Doobie Brothers singer Michael McDonald might have helped this young singer find the charts with his debut single, which rose to the top 10 this month. Christopher Cross was signed to a record contract with Warner Brothers in 1978, released his self-titled debut album in 1979, and his first single hit the charts in 1980. Here is Christopher Cross with Ride Like the Wind. That was the debut from Christopher Cross, Ride the Wind, a song which Cross admitted he wrote while riding in a car from Houston to Austin on what he called a beautiful Texas day while tripping on acid. Let's take a look at TV news. Hawaii Five-0 airs its series finale on CBS. The show ran from 1968 to 1980 and starred Jack Lord, and many episodes would end with Lord's character instructing his subordinate to book 'em, Dano. On the debut side, after the success of Saturday Night Live, ABC decided to mold their own late-night live comedy show. Like SNL, the show featured recurring characters and sketches, short films, and guest hosts. It was called Friday, and cast members include Seinfeld creator Larry David and Seinfeld star Michael Richards. And our featured TV show this week is this forgotten gem.
There is a man, the legends tell, who stands for what is right. Like Wyatt Earp, he never shirks or cowers from a fight. He is our Sheriff Lobo, mighty Sheriff Lobo, a heart of gold, Lobo. He was sharp fins as if they were his own. He walks the streets from early dawn. He stands behind our lawn. Both big and small, he bends them all who dares to fight his cause. He is our Sheriff Lobo, mighty Sheriff Lobo. Congo Lobo, keep us strong.
Move him out!
Keep us strong. Keep us strong. Keep us strong.
If you were watching TV in April 1980 on Tuesday nights and weren't a big fan of Happy Days on ABC, you might have turned over to NBC for The Misadventures of Sheriff Lobo. Claude Akins portrayed the title character, originally on the show BJ and the Bear, and he constantly harassed and tried to jail BJ for anything he could. Lobo's popularity on the show garnered his own sitcom. The show only ran for 2 seasons from 1979 to 1981 and was ranked by TV Guide as number 36 in their 50 worst TV shows of all time. Perhaps the show would have been more successful if Homer Simpson was a real person. The cartoon character has been a noted fan of the show, mentioning the hour-long cop comedy in 3 different episodes of The Simpsons.
Lobo, bring back Sheriff Lobo! Lobo! Lobo!
Moving up in the charts to number 3, here is The Spinners with Working My Way Back to You. Forgive me, girl. After 5 years of being off the charts, the Spinners are back with their latest hit, a disco song, of which the likes are disappearing from top 40 radio. Spinner member Purvis Jackson believes this song and the album which it comes from, Body Language, are already out of sync with the times.
"We're not going to release another single from the album," he said. "The disco thing has fallen off so much that it would be a real big gamble. Let's face it, the album's outdated."
The latest films in theaters include, number 1, The Baltimore Bullet, a story of the adventures of 2 pool hustlers starring James Coburn and Bruce Boxleitner. The tale of a washed-up pool player mentoring a young up-and-coming talent was reused in the more successful 1986 film The Color of Money. After starring together in 2 Apple Dumpling Gang films in the 1970s, comedians Don Knotts and Tim Conway return in The Private Eyes. The pair plays bumbling detectives who work for Scotland Yard in this parody of Sherlock Holmes films. And Where the Buffalo Roam was released this week, starring Bill Murray as journalist Hunter S. Thompson.
Hidden deep within the snow-shrouded Rockies, a fearsome creature is now awake and hungry.
Bronco, he's mine.
Get a grip, Thompson. He is gathering his awesome powers for one final assault upon an unsuspecting world. Ladies and gentlemen, meet Dr. Hunter S. Thompson, the legendary outlaw journalist.
What did you do? Give me the answers.
If you
What?
dare.
Yeah, okay. Great answers, huh? What? What do you want to know? Where am I? You're at your hotel, man.
They broke the mold before he was born. Bill Murray is the outrageous, the infamous, the totally glorious Dr. Hunter S. Thompson.
You know, I hate to advocate drugs or liquor, violence,
insanity to anyone. But in my case, it's worked.
Be proud, man. You're becoming a famous writer. The famous Dr. Gonzo.
Here is where the buffalo roam.
Buffalo, took you so long. Jeez, it's been a nightmare here.
As your attorney, I advise you to leave this room at once.
You find him. He owes me a cover story and I want to get it.
Homeboy to T1. Homeboy to T1.
Dang it. Ghost Riders, Atticus Prophets. Fire, blood, revolution. Ah!
Was he a gun collector?
You gotta write a story. I need your help. They gotta struggle. You should be part of it. Come on!
You left on Tuesday. Today's Saturday.
That's weird. The same mix-up happened to me this morning. I thought it was Tuesday. Saturday. Everybody else is here.
Abigail, buck ya! Head!
Deeper, deeper, deeper!
You gotta get down the hallway over there and throw a muzzle over that fruitcake.
Trimble! Ah!
Exit. No, you never liked this. Incredible.
If you have a taste for total destruction, behold the invincible Gonzo Warrior.
Thompson! This is a travesty of justice!
As he takes on truth.
Forecast is for bad craziness.
Justice.
You're off this campaign for good right now. Give me your credentials.
Give them to me, Thompson, right now.
And the American way.
Write about it! Tell the world! Tell them the truth!
In the land where the buffalo roam.
You psychotic? You've done it to me again.
Look, it's for your own good. You don't belong here.
Sorry, that was long, but I had to play the whole thing. It's pretty good. After the death of activist and friend Oscar Zeta Acosta in 1977, journalist Hunter S. Thompson wrote an obituary piece for Rolling Stone magazine titled The Banshee Screams for Buffalo Meat. The story was a collection of memories and adventures shared by Thompson and Acosta, and the film was criticized for being a series of bizarre episodes strung together rather than having a cohesive plot. But critics praised performances of Bill Murray and Peter Boyle as the main characters. The band at number 2 this month originally went through names like Angel and The Snake, but decided to focus on their lead singer, who was frequently the target of catcallers who would yell out, "Hey Blondie!" Here is Blondie with this song from the soundtrack to the film American Gigolo. Here is Call Me. That was Blondie with Call Me, their 7th UK top 10 single, but just their 2nd in the United States, after Heart of Glass hit number 1 in 1979. Now it's time for our song that should have, but didn't. A song that stood the test of time and probably should have made it higher in the charts than it actually did. This week's band formed in 1973 in San Francisco. They recorded 3 albums for Columbia Records, but failed to find the charts. In late 1977, they hired a new singer, Steve Perry, and their 4th album, Infinity, was a hit, their first platinum album. After their next album, Evolution, cemented their popularity, it was a good bet that their 1980 album, Departure, would send them to the moon. This week's song that should have but didn't is the lead-off track to Departure, as well as the first single. Here's Journey with Any Way You Want It.
Baby, hold tight.
Any Way You Want It only made it to number 23 in the Billboard charts in April 1980. It has remained a favorite of fans and of classic rock enthusiasts. The song was included in the 1980 comedy Caddyshack, as well as being on all 4 of the band's live albums, making it an unforgettable rock song that should have hit the charts but didn't.
I'm the big cheese around here. Look at these badges. I got this one for making a necklace out of garlic. Of course, after that, I was alone for weeks. Out here, I bring along the big cheese. Cheeto snacks. They're made with real cheese. Delicious.
Mr. Fenton, can we climb the mountain now?
How about some Cheetos?
Oh, boy, Cheetos!
I got this one for thinking fast.
Cheetos brand cheese-flavored snacks. The big cheese.
The number 1 song of April 1980 is the second part of a set of 3 songs. While in the recording process, they were each given the subtitles Reminiscing for Part 1, Drugs for Part 3, and Education for this one. At number 1 on the charts this week is Pink Floyd with Another Brick in the Wall, Part 2. That was Pink Floyd singing one of rock and roll's favorite double negatives. Check out our playlist on Spotify for a list of all these songs unedited. And tune in next week when we return to a galaxy far, far away in May 1980. And remember, life is short. Be nice to each other.
Thanks for listening to Pop History Podcast. Please leave us a review on iTunes, like us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, or email us at pophistorypodcast@yahoo.com. Your host and producer is Jay Jackson. Theme music by Jason Parkhurst. All other music used herein is the property of their respective songwriters, publishers, and recording companies and are used within this podcast for historical educational purposes. Pop History Podcast is copyright 2017.